All right, episode 1, a season premiere of A Murder at the End of the World. This show is fantastic. So in episode 1, the show begins with a pretty chilling but fantastic story about Darby Hunt, who's played by Emma Corwin. Darby is an amateur sleuth who also happens to be a genius encoder and writer. So we start off with Darby arriving at a book launch to speak about her book. Darby gives her small backstory during her book reading, that her father was this county coroner, that she grew up in this world of crime and became fascinated with the idea of solving murders. She also hacked the federal database of unidentified bodies when she was 15 and had found thousands of female disappearances that had been unaccounted for. She also mentions her idol, played by Britt Marling, was Lee Anderson, who is arguably the single most important female coder of all time. At the book launch, she reads from her book, The Silver Doe, which refers to a victim who had silver earrings. Against the book convention etiquette, she starts reading the book from the final chapter. In the final chapter of Silver Doe, it explains how Darby and her boyfriend Bill, played by Harris Dickinson, chase a lead to the address of the supposed killer. So the plot of the house has been lying vacant for many years, and although Bill's skeptical, he still goes along with Darby. Darby uses her hacking skills to open up the garage of the house, as well as all the other garages in the neighborhood, which gives her and Bill an entry. Darby and Bill make their way down into the basement, where it's clear that the concrete on the floor had recently been redone. After hours of digging, Darby and Bill fell short of finding a body and ended up falling asleep all night on the basement floor. So Darby's sleep is broke upon hearing some noises upstairs. She noticed something different about the staircase just then, and it hit her that the body must be buried underneath it. She wakes up Bill, and they begin tearing it apart, and what do you know? They find the body of the killer's wife, Patricia. Patricia was his first, which is made clear by the matching wedding ring on her finger. We see the pair being confronted by the killer, who stands at the entrance to the basement and points a gun at him. However, Darby stops narrating the story there, leaving us wondering if Bill is indeed alive as he jumps in front of her. She takes a few questions, one question being, where is Bill now? Which we then learn that Bill is no longer part of her life. Darby heads home and is surprised when she finds a message from someone called Ray, who claims to be representing Andy Ronson. This name is familiar to Darby, as Mr. Ronson is a billionaire tech mogul who is also married to her idol, Lee Anderson. She thinks it's a Russian hack and seeks out advice from her friends over video chat. After installing an app on her phone, Darby is able to see the AI Ray, although he isn't visible to the naked eye. Ray invites her to Ronson's 2023 retreat at an undisclosed location. It is a meeting of a small group of esteemed people, some of whom are Andy's friends. Darby finds herself speechless yet intrigued and accepts the invitation. She talks to her father about it over the phone, and off she goes on the retreat. Darby is greeted at the plane by Todd, Ronson's head of security. Todd was also present at the reading, although we didn't know it at the time. She is checked onto the plane and finds a group of people. Martin Mitchell, played by Jermaine Fowler, is an upcoming filmmaker. Lu Mei, played by Joan Chen, a Chinese billionaire building smart cities in China, and Sean Cruz, played by Alice Braga, an astronaut who walked on the moon. On the plane, we see the back of Darby's book that Bill has now become a successful guerrilla artist who creates under the pseudonym Fangs. Darby mentions she hasn't been in contact with Bill for 6 years. She remains coy about the nature of their previous relationship. It turns out that the location for the retreat is Iceland, the last known great remains of barren land on Earth, according to Ronson. Darby and the other guests check into the scenic hotel. Darby's surprised to find Ray in her room. So Ray is actually an AI invention of Ronson's, who he is soon planning to bring out to the mass market. Darby goes to dinner that night, finally fulfilling her purpose of coming to the retreat, which is meeting Lee. Although they don't exchange words, only glances, Darby blushes like a child. Darby finds herself unfit at this table. While the others talk about their achievements and how they're changing the world, she has nothing to offer. Ronson addresses his guests and praises them for their efforts to make a difference. Lee is with him, as well as their young son Zoomer. The night changes quite fast for Darby when she sees Bill sitting opposite to her. She almost chokes on her food as she's taken back, only to be saved by Sean's timely intervention. After dinner and a dip in the hot springs, Darby and Bill finally talk. They go on a walk in the cold, where Bill reveals that he deserted Darby at the motel because he wasn't as brave as she wanted him to be. And what Darby sees as bravery, he sees as something much scarier. Although she rejects Bill's invitation to his room, Darby has a change of heart after listening to their favorite song in her room, No More I Love Yous. Darby makes her way to Bill's room. When she first hears the noises from inside, Darby thinks Bill is having sex with someone else. Earlier, she had a wandering thought that Bill and Lee were involved with each other somehow. However, Darby quickly realizes that Bill needs help. She ventures outside to look into his room. Darby looks in horror as a bloody Bill asks her to stay and collapses as Darby rushes to get help. And that is a season premiere recap of A Murder at the Edge of the World. Go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts on this new series.